All right. Okay. So thanks, Katie, and thanks to the Brain Injury Association of North Bay Area for reaching out to the Anti-Fraud Center to do some fraud prevention awareness messaging. It's always good when we can get out and talk to people in the community about fraud awareness. Today, I'm going to talk to you about the Canadian Anti-Fraud Center, who we are, what we do here, sort of give you some ideas of what the level of fraud reporting is that we're seeing. And then get into some of the scams and fraud trends that we see and provide you some messaging around protecting yourself, what to do if you're a victim and how to report. So our key term is recognize, reject, report. It's about recognizing that fraud happens through every means. You can get calls on your telephone, you can get emails, text messaging. There's fake profiles and internet social media websites or dating websites. So the fraudsters are using every means at their disposal to try and target you. And then rejections about slowing down, not reacting to these urgent, coercive demands that you get, these calls or these emails. Trusting your gut if you think something's fishy, talking to family members and friends, and really doing your due diligence. And then reporting is always a key piece, reporting to the police, reporting to the Anti-Fraud Center. If we don't know what's happening, we can't warn other people, and the information you have might be a missing piece of the puzzle. So about the Anti-Fraud Center, the Canadian Anti-Fraud Center is run by the Royal Canadian Mounted Police in partnership with the Ontario Provincial Police and the Competition Bureau of Canada. We are not an investigative agency. We are police run, but we do not investigate. We use the information we collect to support operations and investigations, to develop intelligence. And again, the key piece, prevention awareness messaging. So, we use the reports we get to develop fraud bulletins, update our website, and just, general public awareness about the different scams happening and warning as many people as possible. A good piece there is the tell2 hashtag that we've seen in the UK, where if you can talk about fraud and tell two people, you're helping spread that prevention awareness messaging. And 25 tell-toers in Canada, you could educate the whole Canadian population. So again, prevention and education is really key here. So what we do with the information, we centralize it. You can report to the Anti-Fraud Center through our toll-free line, 888-495-8501, or through our online fraud reporting system, which is at our website, www.antifraudcenter.ca. Are the two ways we accept reports. And again, we centralize that report and we provide advice to victims of fraud. We help educate you on fraud when you call in. Or again, if you visit our website, you can learn about the different scams that are there. And then we use the information for operational intelligence support. So we're involved with police agencies across Canada and internationally. So we use the information we collect to support investigations and operations. So if police are investigating a fraud, say in BC, and there's a fraud out in Halifax, Nova Scotia as well, we might be able to deconflict or link these two investigators up if they're looking at the same thing based on the information we receive. Prevention and awareness, again, key piece here. Doing presentations like this. We had over 400 media requests last year. The key to reducing fraud, which is our primary goal, is prevention awareness, making people recognize, reject, and report the frauds. And the last piece here is disruption. So just because something doesn't get investigated doesn't mean the information you have isn't useful. So if you have a telephone number, an email account, a bank account, or different pieces of fraud information that you might have received, we can work with partners to try and get these accounts blocked or shut down. We don't do the blocks or shut down. It's up to the service providers, the telephone companies, the internet service providers, the email companies to block the fraud accounts. We just simply provide them a notice that we received a report on a particular fraud account. So mass marketing fraud is fraud en masse. That's what MMF means. So it's fraud through internet, email, text messages, telephone, targeting multiple people, trying to get as many victims as possible. It's fraud en masse. And we know the scammers are capable of profiling or creating new scams every day to target specific age groups, occupations, individuals, and so on. So we currently capture more than 35 different fraud types. This is just a snapshot of some of the different scams we've seen. We're not going to get into all of these today, but I will touch on some of the hot ones that we're seeing. So to give you a sense of the volume of reporting, the amount of fraud that's happening in 2020, and these are fresh off the press, these stats, we had 470,000 calls that hit our toll-free line. So I mentioned reporting to the Anti-Fraud Center happens through our toll-free line or through an online fraud reporting system. We are a small team, so if you are calling the number, sometimes it is difficult to get through. But remain patient. In some cases, there's long waits in the queue as well. So 470,000 calls hit our toll-free line. We also received 131,978 online fraud reports. The total losses to date for 2020 is over 153 million in reported losses in 2020. So this is up from about 138 million in 2019. So we're seeing the fraud volumes go up, including the reporting. And the scary part about this is that the numbers that we see is estimated that we received less than 5% of all mass marketing fraud or all fraud reporting to the Anti-Fraud Center. So this is based on a University of McMaster study that showed that the Anti-Fraud Center actually receives less than 1% of identity theft and fraud reports. But we know reporting rates can vary from scam to scam. We know that there's stigmas associated with fraud, embarrassment, shame. People may not trust the police and think they won't do anything. So there's various reasons why people don't report. Again, reporting is a key piece. Talking about fraud is a really key piece. Talking to family members or friends help promote that fraud awareness, that fraud prevention awareness messaging. It's happening to a lot of people, so it's not something you need to be ashamed about or embarrassed about. It really helps when you can talk about it and warn other people about your experiences. So what are some of the current fraud trends? Here's the ones I'll be touching on today. But again, as you saw from the list, there's a new scam every day for anybody in the world. Anybody with a phone can get a phone call. Anybody with an email is getting junk email and scam messaging. If you're online doing online dating or using social media, you can be solicited through pop-up ads or fraudulent ads that created through these platforms. And you really got to be aware that the fraudsters again are using every means at their disposal to target you. And more so today in the world of COVID, right? We've gone into this world where we're isolated, we're locked down, we're relying on the internet more and more to do our day-to-day activities, from online shopping, buying products, Christmas presents. There's always a spike in merchandise scams over the Christmas period. So again, just it's being aware that there's lots of stuff happening out there. And if trust your gut, talk to people, do your due diligence again. So let's get into some of these. So identity theft and fraud. So identity theft refers to the acquisition of your personal information. These are actually two different things. So identity theft is the acquisition period, is where they're gathering your personal information. Where we see this happening is often through phishing emails that you get. So you might get an email that looks like it's coming from your bank, your internet service provider, your email company saying we're updating our profiles, or your account's insecure. We need you to click on the following link and update your password. So these unsolicited emails asking for you to take action to protect your information or to solicit your personal or financial information is a phishing scam at the end of the day. The other place we see identity theft is mass data breaches. In 2019, we heard of a number of data breaches. That's where the criminals are hacking into databases and stealing your personal information, which then can be used for other criminal purposes. So, recent news in 2019 was the GC key data breach or credential stuffing attack. This is where they take your information that's been harvested from a previous data breach. It's usually your username and password that they're using, and they're using that username and password and plugging it into different accounts, to different bank accounts, or to different banking websites, to different government websites. In this case, with the CRA's and Service Canada CERB application platform. So they're using a username and password. They have a username and password that you've used on a different account, and they use that to log into another account because you've used the same username and password across multiple online accounts. And this gives them access to your account at the end of the day. So, one of the key points here is using unique passwords across the different online accounts you have, using strong passwords, usually 8 digits or 8 characters long, letters, numbers, uppercase, lowercase, and special characters. Is really important thing when it comes to identity theft and protecting yourself online. Identity fraud is the use of the personal information that they've acquired. So they've stolen your information from the data breach, that's the identity theft, and now they're using it to log into your CRA or Service Canada account or to your bank account. That's the fraud aspect of it. And they're using it to transfer money from your account. They're using it to apply for CERB benefit, or CRB as it's known now, Canadian Recovery Benefit. So it's the use of your personal information that equals the fraud. There's a website that we're not affiliated with or endorsed or anything like that, but it's if you want to punch in, you can punch in your email address on this website. Have I been pawned is what it stands for, to see if your email address has been linked to any data breaches. And the other key piece with identity theft and fraud is the follow-up, and I'll get into this a little later as well. But it's a matter of protecting yourself and routine practices. So checking your account to make sure there's no unauthorized charges, checking your credit card statement, make sure there's no unauthorized charges, make sure you're getting all your mail. Again, using strong passwords, unique passwords across different accounts are really key. The other key piece with identity theft and fraud is getting a copy of your credit report once a year. So Equifax and TransUnion are the credit bureaus in Canada, and they maintain credit profiles on you if you're going to the bank to try and get a loan, to buy a car, to get a credit card. The financial institutions and financial agencies will run credit checks on you to see if you're credit worthy, and the credit reports maintain a credit profile that shows you all the accounts that are in your name. So if you're checking your credit report once a year, and it's free to do once a year with Equifax and TransUnion, you can see a list of credit services that are in your name. So it's really key. If there's something on that credit report that you didn't apply for, that's not you, that's not your account, then you need to contact the credit bureaus, get a hold of them, and flag that fraud. Service scams. So here, we're talking about scams typically online and through the telephone, where you receive a call. The most common one we see is sort of the tech support. So you receive a call saying it's Microsoft or it's Windows, your computer's sending out viruses, or it might even be a pop-up you see on your computer, like warning alert, your computer's infected, call this number right away. And essentially, you're going to call a phone number, or you're going to speak to somebody on the phone, and they're going to tell you that they're going to ask for access to your computer. So key thing here is not to give anybody, any third-party remote access to your computer if you don't know who you're talking to or don't know who you're dealing with. They're going to ask for access to your computer. They're going to show you a bunch of errors on your screen, tell you your computer's infected, it's sending out viruses, that you need to install and update your antivirus software right away. And then they're going to charge you a fee to do this. So they're going to ask you for your credit card number and charge you a fee to do this. So that's probably the most common service scam we see, but we also see them around home renovation scams, where people are calling about duct cleaning or furnace repair or hot water tanks. So be very wary about letting anybody into your home that wants to view your furnace or your hot water tank and inspect it, claiming to be whether it's claiming to be North Bay Hydro or North Bay Gas Company, Enbridge. It's be very cautious about that. There are deceptive groups out there trying to lock you into contracts and sell you something that you really don't need, a new furnace, a hot water tank. So the home renovations, home repairs are another key service scam that we see. And then the recovery pitch. So the flip side, a lot of the tech support or lower interest rate type scams that we see is you get a call indicating that you were previously victimized by a tech support scam, that we've recovered your money, the $400 that we charged on your credit card or $1,000 that we've charged on your credit card. And to get this money back, we need you to send us a insurance fee, a confirmation fee that it's you. So they're going to ask you for more money to get your money back. So that's a recovery pitch we see in just about every fraud type, but more frequently we see it today with the tech support scams. But yeah, anytime you've lost money, if somebody's calling you claiming to be, police, law enforcement, fraud recovery asset corporation, whatever name they might be using, saying, we've recovered your money, but to get it back, you need to send more money. That's usually a key indication of fraud. The bank investigator scam, another common scam we see today. Most frequently, it targets people with landlines. We don't always see it on cell phones, that we do in some cases, but a lot of cases it's people that have landlines, home phones that are landlines. Most common variations, a call usually early in the morning, between 6 and 8 a.m. in the morning. They want to catch you while you're sleeping or not awake yet or haven't had your coffee, and then they're going to tell you that there's been unauthorized charges on your bank account or on your credit card, suspicious transactions, and that they want you to, give them your credit card number to confirm these purchases, or that they're going to transfer you to the local police. In some cases, we've seen that where they've directed people to call the number on the back of their credit card. So I'm going to get you to hang up the phone right now, and you're going to call the number on the back of your credit card right away to report this fraud. So you hang up your landline, you pick it up right away, you call that number. But what you don't realize is that initial call is still connected to the fraudsters. So there's a delayed disconnect on landlines. That's why they target landlines. So essentially, when you hang up a landline and pick it up again right away, you're still connected to that initial call. You need to wait anywhere from 10 seconds to a minute for that initial call to be disconnected. So beware of that. You may think you're calling the number on the back of your credit card or calling your local police station, but if you haven't given your landline enough time to disconnect that original call, you could still be connected to the fraudsters. The other thing they do here is they may spoof your local police number. We've seen that a lot of times. So caller ID spoofing is where they manipulate your call display to show it as a local number, to show it as a number that you might recognize, such as your local police number. Might even say North Bay Police with the phone number across it. So you think you're actually getting a call from the police, but it's the fraudsters. So I mean, call display is a convenience at this point. It's not to be trusted just because it says it's the police calling you. You really need to do your due diligence and make sure it is. You want to call them back yourself, independently verify who's called you if it is indeed the police. So with the bank investigator scam, again, they'll call, say there's unauthorized charges. We need your credit card. They'll try and confirm your bank information, your credit card information. And they go a step further sometimes to say that, your account's been really compromised here. We need you to transfer all your money to keep it safe. So they might ask you to do a wire transfer to an overseas account. They might ask you to withdraw a bunch of money and send it via Bitcoin to them, virtual currencies to them. And they'll even direct you to the Bitcoin ATMs that are in town here. And then the second scenario, send money in a sting operation. So sometimes that's the Bitcoin variation. So we need you to withdraw the money and send it to this Bitcoin address to help us catch that fraudster. Again, the police aren't going to ask you to help with the stuff. You're not going to get an unsolicited call saying there's unauthorized charges and we need you to transfer money. This stuff, banks don't do this, credit card companies don't do this, and certainly the police wouldn't be involved in, calling you in an unsolicited way to ask for your help in a sting operation. Emergency scams. Most commonly, these happen over the phone. In some cases, we see them through email as well. But usually it's a call from a family member and friend. It could be a cousin, a niece, a nephew, a brother, a sister. And they often sound a little bit different, so they'll claim that they've been in and they don't really know who they're calling. So they might say, "Hi, Grandma, is that you?" It's a common target of these scams are seniors. So, "Hi, Grandma, is that you?" And then Grandma says, "Jeff, is that you?" "Yeah, it's me, Jeff." So now the fraudsters have the grandson's name. "Grandma, I've been in a car accident. I'm in big trouble here. I really need your help. I'm going to let you talk to my lawyer to give you more details." And then you get transferred to another fraudster who's going to claim to be the lawyer, the bail bondsman, saying, look, we can get around this this car accident. You know, Jeff was drinking. There's a DUI charge pending. But if he pays a fee to the Big Brothers and Sisters Association, makes a donation, then we can make this all go away. Can you help send this money for Jeff? You know, so there's going to be a request for cash to avoid jail time, to help with the legal situation. In a lot of cases, a bank investigator or emergency scams, what you see is that they want you to keep it secret. They don't want you to tell anybody. Don't talk to anybody. Don't let anybody know this is happening. You know, just do what we're telling you, and this will all be over sooner than you think, right? So there's that situation of secrecy. Again, there's that situation of urgency. You need to do exactly what we're saying right away to help keep your money safe, to help Jeff, who's been in an accident. You need to do this stuff right away. So that sense of urgency and secrecy is key indicator of fraud as well. And always the request for money, right? So anytime they're requesting for money, you know, they'll ask for payments through gift cards, Bitcoins, you know, larger amounts. Usually ask for wire transfers. In some cases, even e-transfers or email money transfers, right? But anybody that's calling you in an unsolicited fashion, sending an email or text message asking for personal financial information or asking you to send money in an urgent manner, you know, take a step back. Again, don't react, reject that fraud, really slow down and think about stuff. You know, talk to family members and friends just to see if your suspicions are correct. Romance scams. So here's one when I talked about fraud reporting where, you know, they don't always hit our top 10 in terms of volumes of reports that we see. But in terms of dollar loss, there's a significant amount of money that's lost to romance scams every year. Part of the reason for that is they're scams of trust. The fraudsters are willing to carry on a relationship with you online over an extended period of time before they even ask you for money. So a typical romance scams involves fraudsters creating profiles online through dating websites or social media websites, where they're soliciting relationships with people. In many cases, romance scams on the dating websites, they will claim, you know, love at first sight type thing. They escalate this relationship very quickly. You know, they're your kindred spirit. They're right connected with you. They're going to say everything they can to make you believe that they're real. They're going to tell you everything you need to hear, you want to hear. And again, they're willing to carry on this relationship over an extended period of time. You know, we've seen it go on 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, 6 months, up to a year even, where they're, you know, there may not even be a request for cash. But at the end of the day, that they're eventually going to say, you know, I'm in a pickle. I'm in a jam. There's going to be an urgent situation. My son's in the hospital with COVID-19. I need money for hospital bills or whatever it might be. They've got all kinds of stories to ask you for money. So if you've never met somebody in person and you know you're carrying on a relationship online, beware if they're asking you to send money or help them in any fashion. Anytime they want to meet or you try and set up a meeting with them in person, there's always an excuse why they can't come. Another area we see here is they're usually traveling abroad or in some other country, and they want you to send them money for the airplane ticket. So you start by sending them money for the airplane ticket. They're coming to meet you. You're so excited. You're finally going to meet this stranger you've fallen in love with, and then the excuses start. Well, the plane's been delayed, or I'm stopped at customs. Uh, and so on. In a lot of cases, they might claim to be in the military or a business person that's traveling abroad, working on a big business deal. That's another area where they can start asking for money again, is that they've their business deal has hit a snag, and we need your help to receive money on our behalf. So my account's currently blocked or currently full, and I need your help this time. I'm not going to ask you for money, but I'm gonna get one of my business partners needs to transfer me some money, and he can't right now. So can you accept that money on my behalf? So what we see is romance scam victims are being recruited to be what we call money mules, and this is where they're going to ask you to receive money into your account and then send that money on. So they've effectively made you middleman in receiving funds from other victims of fraud in a lot of cases, or other criminal activities. If you don't know the source of those funds, then you're potentially facilitating money laundering activity. So again, if somebody's asking you to use your account's personal financial information, asking you to transfer money on their behalf, beware that you could be a money mule. Tragedies, is another area. Like I said, the hospital fees. There's various situations again where they'll ask you to send money, but in many cases you've never met this person. In most cases, in most all cases, you've never met them. And they're escalating the relationship. They're telling everything you want to hear and need to hear, and they're getting you emotionally invested in this relationship. That's really key to it. It's a scam of trust. And once they have your trust, then that the requests for cash start coming, and that's why if somebody trusts somebody, you're more likely to send them money and larger amounts of money. Cryptocurrency scams. There's a variety of different scams that we see that are asking for people to buy Bitcoins or transfer money via Bitcoin or some other virtual currency, Ethereum, Litecoin. There's over 200 different virtual currencies, and some of them do have ATM machines now. So it's almost like you're going to a bank ATM machine, but it's for cryptocurrencies. So one of the key areas, and it ties into the last slide with the money mules, is job scams. So what we see is victims are hopping online, posting their resumes online, looking for jobs. The scammers see these resumes, or they're creating their own job ads online for clerical assistant, admin assistant, managerial assistant, payment processor. So essentially your job, you're going to get, hired basically on the spot after they send you an email saying, we've seen your resume online. We're really interested in hiring you. We can't do an interview right now because of COVID-19, an in-person interview, but we really like your resume and we want to hire you. Do you want to be hired? Yes, I do. So what the job, we're going to send you some of the paperwork, and they're going to send you official looking paperwork. They may even have an official looking website that looks like a real business. To sign. Here's what your job's going to be, and you're going to be a financial agent for us to accept and look after accounts in North America. And we're going to, basically what we're going to do is our clients are going to send you money, and you're going to transfer it on to us. You're going to process the payments from our clients. So again, they're recruiting you to receive money on their behalf. Again, they're not asking you to send in your own money. They're going to, money's going to come into your account from other victims of fraud at the end of the day. And you're going to be asked to withdraw that money, take it to a Bitcoin ATM machine, and transfer it onwards. Extortion scams. These are, probably the most popular that we see and hear about in the news. This is Service Canada calling, or your SIN number is implicated in a fraud right now. Your SIN number's been compromised. We've identified money laundering activity tied to your SIN number. Or the switch on this is, this is the CRA calling. You will back taxes. If you don't pay right away, you can be arrested, charged, fined, etc. So extortion scams are calls that are very threatening in nature. They're very coercive. We also see them by email, but at the end of the day, the message is coercive, threatening, and they're telling you you're going to be in big trouble if you don't do exactly what we say. In any of these cases, you're free to hang up if it's a phone call. If it's an email where we see it, a common extortion email scam is the password extortion one. So you get an email, it shows you one of your old passwords that you've used online, and the email claims that we've captured you on video looking at illicit content online, downloading illicit content. And if you don't do exactly what we say, we're going to release this video to your family members and friends. And again, they're going to ask you to transfer money by Bitcoins through the email campaign. With the extortion scam calls, we also see them to ask you to go out and buy, we're going to get you to go out and pay your back taxes by buying iTunes gift cards or Steam gift cards or Google Play gift cards, So at the end of the day, no government agency is ever going to ask you to go out and buy gift cards to make a payment, okay? Or send money via Bitcoin. While Bitcoin and virtual currencies are becoming more mainstream today, it's still not an accepted payment method used by government agencies. investment scams, for any of the investors out there, what we're seeing is again tied to Bitcoins or cryptocurrencies is what we call initial coin offerings. It's like an IPO essentially. So, you're going to see an advertisement or a pop-up, saying this is going to be the next big Bitcoin. This cryptocurrency is going to be the next big thing. It's going to surpass Bitcoin. Get in now, invest now, and you're going to make your money back times 10, right? So there's usually these higher than normal returns with investment scams. And, once you've sent your money, it's gone. There is no investment, no money's ever invested, and you're not going to get anything back. Sorry, I just skipped ahead there. See where we are. I'll just pause for a minute. Is there any questions right now? Is there chat questions or?
I just put it out there.
Okay, perfect. Well, we'll leave it out there. So if anybody has questions, by all means, throw it through the chat, and then we can go through the questions at the end of the presentation. So how to protect yourself. Here's where we're getting into, the recognize, reject portion of it, right? So don't be afraid to say no. Any unsolicited calls, any unsolicited emails, say no, don't, hang up, don't respond. Do your research, do your due diligence. If even though they're saying it's urgent, you need to do exactly what we're saying right away, or else, no government agency, no legitimate institution is going to, again, threaten you and tell you, or else any urgent situation, you want to confirm, again, with family members and friends as much as you can. One scam, with the do your research, the one scam I really didn't touch on, maybe a little bit at the start when we talked about COVID-19 and merchandise scams and more people hopping online, is merchandise scams is another big category we see where people are doing, online buying products. Usually these offers are too good to be true. So you're going to see an ad, it could be on Facebook, it could be online on the internet, a pop-up ad, offering brand name products from, Canada Goose jackets, Ugg boots, Coach purses, hair clippers, hot tubs, you name it. We've seen it all. Generators, blenders, kitchen apparel. But again, the catch here is oftentimes these ads that you see online or these websites offering these products, the prices are too good to be true. Do your comparison. What does a typical Canada Goose jacket cost? It's $1,000. So if you see an ad that's selling one for $200, is this really real? So you really want to do your research. The other thing when you're doing online shopping and buying online is to use a secure payment method. So, I always recommend credit card. Credit cards have payment protection policies. So you have insurance there if you don't receive what you ordered, if you receive counterfeit goods, if you don't receive anything at all. You can call up the number on the back of your credit card and dispute those charges and look to get a refund. And it's the credit card company refunding you at the end of the day because of the fraud protection that they offer. So if you're doing online shopping, use a protected payment method. Use a secure payment method, one that offers some sort of fraud protection. I know PayPal and some of the internet payment services offer some level of fraud protection, but you want to use one that offers you the most fraud protection. So again, online shopping, it's about doing research. Again, being aware of that. The adage of too good to be true, if something's at a really reduced price, is it really legitimate? Are you really going to get the real product, or is it going to be a knockoff, or are you going to get anything at all? Don't give out personal information. Again, this goes back to the phishing emails, identity theft, unsolicited calls asking you for, confirm your SIN number or credit card number. If you don't know who you're talking to, the source of the email is really not known. Don't give out any personal information from an unsolicited request that you get. So a request that you get out of the blue, right? Again, a lot of these emails end up in your junk email. A lot of these calls come through. It's not something that somewhere where you called somebody where they might ask to confirm your personal information. These are unsolicited requests for your personal information. Beware of upfront fees. you know, a lot of cases with fraud, it's, you know, the prize scam's a good example, right? You receive a call, congratulations, you've won a prize, but you got to pay the insurance fee first. So before you're going to get what the offer is, the product is, you got to pay money first, you know, but first you got to pay your insurance fees or taxes on the prize. Basically, any request for cash is a red flag, right? So if you're getting a call, call, unsolicited email, text message, even asking for cash or bitcoins or gift cards, you know, that's you know, that's where you should be slowing down, taking time, doing your research, and confirming all the information that you have. Unsolicited emails, again, don't click on links or open attachments. So one thing I didn't touch on when I talked about phishing was the attachment aspect. So in some cases, what we see with phishing emails today is they're not asking you to actually click on a link and provide personal information. They may be asking you to open attachments. So earlier on in the pandemic, what we saw was an extortion type email, phishing extortion. You know, it was a new twist to us. You know, saying claiming you've been in close contact with somebody that's been infected with COVID. You need to fill out the attached form. In some cases, providing personal information, but the key goal of this email was to get you to open up an Excel attachment. And what ended up happening is that Excel attachment was riddled with malware, with a virus that was down. As soon as you opened it, it's downloaded onto your computer, right? So if you're getting emails from people you don't know asking you to open up attachments or click on links, you need to be really careful because those attachments can be have viruses or malware in them, right? So again, the key message there is also, you know, protecting your computer and ensuring your operating systems and your antivirus software is up to date. And that's the last point. Actually, protect your computer. There we go.
Jeff, sorry, I just have a question here about how often do you recommend changing the passwords on computer sites?
You know, that's a great question, and there's not an easy answer, I guess. It depends on the people. If you feel more secure doing it once a month, then change it once a month. Once every 3 months is usually good. Myself, I do it twice a year. But again, if you're using unique passwords across all your different accounts and using strong passwords, that's the real critical thing when it comes to passwords. It's not necessarily changing them. The other thing you want to consider with online accounts is two-factor or multi-factor authentication. So this is where, and it's usually enabled by you, so you can do it with your bank login, for instance, where when you go to log in your bank, you punch in your username and password, and then you get a text message from your bank or you get a phone call from your bank saying your verification code is. So there's an extra step there. You got your username and password, and then the next step is you're going to get a verification code sent to you that you also have to punch in to get in. So that's two-factor authentication, and it's an added layer of security. That's another really good option out there. It's, you know, it's really about a layered approach. There's no you know, you can take all the steps you want, but fraudsters always still find a way, is my experience. But again, it's about best practices. It's about cyber hygiene, doing as many things you can as routinely as you can. So yeah, changing passwords, it's up to you. I know in today's world with all the different accounts that people have, it's getting difficult to remember all the passwords. I struggle with it and routinely have to reset my passwords. But you know, like I said, I do it twice a year, but you know, whether it's every 3 months, a month, or once a year, it is a good practice to routinely change them as well.
Perfect. Thank you.
So protecting the computer, again, the last thing sort of I want to touch on is, you know, I touched about the attachments and links, never giving remote access. I touched about that earlier too, but we see it more and more with a lot of scams where the fraudsters are asking for remote access to your computer, whether it's tech support or something else. Essentially, you're giving a third-party access to your computer where they can control your mouse, they see your screen, So be very cautious of, giving any sort of remote access to your computer. And then if you're having problems with your computer, running your antivirus, running your anti-spyware, operating systems up to date. If they continue to have problems, bring it to a local technician. A lot of cases, where we see the tech support scams come in is somebody's having a problem. They try and troubleshoot their own. They do a search online for, iPad support or whatever it might be. And the first few links that pop up in a lot of online searches are ads at the end of the day. And what we know is the fraudsters are paying to have their ads show up at the top list. It's called search engine optimization. So be cautious if you're doing that. You're looking up a phone number for support. Be cautious if you're clicking on an ad, whether it's going to the real person or not. So we recommend that if you're having problems with your computer or your devices, bring it to a local technician to have them look at it. So the last piece here is reporting frauds. So recognize, reject, report. So what to do, a lot of cases what to do if you're a victim, but whether you've been a victim or not, we still want you to report. Again, the information you have, it could be a key piece of information. We work with service providers, the banks, the email companies, um, the phone companies to try and block as many of the fraud accounts as possible. So even if you haven't lost money or you haven't lost personal or financial information, we'd still like you to report. Going online to our website is the easiest way to do that. And again, this information you have might be a key piece of information for us. So step one is gathering all the information pertaining to the fraud. I always talk about creating a chronological written statement of events. The frauds are changing so much. There's always new twists. So when you try and report this to your local police or even to us, it's easier for us to understand if you have all your thoughts gathered. So if you can write out a sort of a statement of events. I got a phone call on January 6th. The person claimed to be the who, what, where, when. John Watson from the CRA, right? Write down all the details: who, what, where, when, why, what they told you, how they asked you to send money, what they asked you for, as many details with the number that was on your call display, the number they gave you to call back, what kind of gift cards they asked you to go buy. As many details as possible helps create a good story, a good narrative. It makes it easier to report. It makes it easier for police or the anti-fraud center to understand what the fraud issue was. Step two, report the incident to your local law enforcement. So that's your local police, right? So fraud at the end of the day, whether it's a unsolicited phone call claiming to be the CRA or Service Canada, is a crime. And local police need to know about the crimes happening in their community. While I wish there was an investigator to investigate every occurrence of fraud, that's not the case in Canada. Policing resources are stretched thin, but it's still important to report so police know what's happening in their communities, right? Contact the anti-fraud center if ever you need directions. And also file a report with us as well is always a key step. We can help you with certain mitigations or advice if you're not sure what to do next. Report to the financial institution or where the money was sent. So if you've been a victim and you've sent money, I talked earlier about calling the number in the back of your credit card as step one, dispute those charges. But if you've sent a wire transfer or an e-transfer, you want to go to your bank or talk to your bank about, is there an option to recall this money or stop this? I know with e-transfers, typically once the money's sent, there's no way of getting it back. But it's still worth reporting to your bank or wherever, whether it's money service businesses such as Western Union, MoneyGram that we see somewhat commonly. They have phone numbers that you can call to report the fraud and try and get that transfer stopped. When it comes to virtual currencies or Bitcoins, a lot of cases it's sent through a Bitcoin ATM or a virtual currency ATM machine. Some of those ATM machines have phone numbers on the side of them that you can call and try and report, so it's a small opportunity to get the money back, but it's always worth a shot. And it also alerts the financial institutions and the money service businesses or however you sent the money to the fraud that's happening through their services. Step 5, if it's happened online, right? Facebook, eBay, Kijiji, the dating websites. Again, while we take steps to notify these people, if you're doing it yourself, that ad might getting removed earlier. So a lot of cases, whether it's Gmail or Hotmail or Outlook, there's an abuse at gmail.com or an abuse at facebook.com. So a lot of these places have email addresses where you can report the frauds to. And again, it's about taking the fraud ads down and preventing other people from being victims. And then step 6, I touched on a little bit earlier. It's for victims of ID fraud. If you get a phone call from a bank saying, "Did you apply for this credit card?" "No, I didn't." Okay, you're a victim of ID fraud. So now you need to call the credit bureaus to put out those fraud alerts on your credit profiles. We talked about Equifax and TransUnion, how they maintain credit profiles. You want to get a copy of your credit profile to see what other accounts might exist in your name. And again, putting the fraud alert with the credit bureaus is another good step to take if you're a victim of identity fraud. I think that's, oh yeah, the last piece, where to report. So just to summarize where to report, local police, the Anti-Fraud Center, again, online is the best option. It is difficult to get through. Depending on the type of fraud you've been involved in, I threw the other 2 in here just to give you a sense that there's other places that look after fraud as well. We really take an integrated approach to fraud because there's so many different variations, so many different laws that might help law enforcement go after the fraudsters. So the Ontario Securities Commission is the investment regulator, the financial regulator in Canada. So that if somebody's selling investments of any sort, they need to be registered with the Ontario Securities Commission. If you're looking at investing, you might want to check to see if the person selling the investment is registered. They need to be registered with the OSC. So they have resources there. And then there's the Ministry of Consumer and Government Services. So when I talked about home renovation scams, the MCGS or MGCS, it regulates, it has the Consumer Protection Act. It regulates a lot of consumer protection areas. So, I talked about home renovations. Another area there might be moving companies, right? Moving scams. So there's different things the ministry can help with and direct you more accordingly with, and always a good resources. And the last one, I can mention is probably the Better Business Bureau. If you're ever wondering whether a company's legitimate or not, well, I mean, they pay for the companies to be accredited by the BBB. It's still a good indication. There is consumer reviews there. It's still a good indication if you can find information there, if they have a BBB rating or not, Better Business Bureau rating, whether they're a legitimate company or not. So again, multiple places to report. And that really is the hard part about fraud. It's the recovery from the fraud that takes a lot of time and toll on victims. Especially victims that have lost large amounts of money or been involved in, say, a romance scam over a long period of time. That can be really devastating and emotional impacts on victims, on people. So we fully recognize that here at the Anti-Fraud Center. We want to encourage people to let them know that they're not alone, that it's happening more than you think. And again, to reduce fraud, we need people to report it, talk about it, get the word out there. So recognize, reject, report is where we started. That's where I'll end. Again, recognizing that the fraudsters are using every means at their disposal to try and target you: phone, text messages, email, social media. Reject, do your due diligence, don't react, slow down, think about stuff, talk to family members and friends, do your research, and then report to the police, report to the Anti-Fraud Center.
Perfect. Thank you so much. I have to say I've done a ton of research for this project, and it's overwhelming, the amount of information out there on the current frauds and scams that are happening. So this has been really great. Thank you so much.
I'm glad to be here again. Always good to get out and talk about fraud and provide fraud prevention awareness messaging.
If anybody has any questions, feel free to unmute yourself, or you can type it into the chat box. I do have a comment here, Jeff. It says, my computer antivirus program sometimes tells me I will be able to get contact numbers to report fraud after Zoom.
Sorry, could you repeat that?
It says, my computer antivirus program sometimes tells me I will be able to get contact numbers to report fraud after Zoom. Is Zoom a platform that's being used to conduct a lot of fraud?
Yeah, so I don't know if it's a platform to be conduct a lot of fraud, but there is, the security of Zoom or Skype or any sort of online chat or video conferencing software is always a concern, right? Again, early on in the pandemic, we saw a lot of people flooding to Zoom or Skype or, the different types of video conferencing softwares out there. And what was happening was it was more hacker or more cybercrime type of activity where there was Zoom bombing going on, where people were, flooding these Zoom messages and stuff. So, I mean, if there's a link between your antivirus and your Zoom, I'm not aware of any frauds in that particular area.
Okay.
But again, you want to make sure everything's blocked and shut down as much as possible.
Perfect. I'm getting a lot of comments here saying, great presentation. Thank you so much. Is there any other questions out there before we close off?
I have a question. It's Butterfly. I'm sorry, I'm not computer smart. And I do have my camera turned off. I have an older computer. I do have antivirus, whatever I bought. And twice now it's popped up saying that I have outdated software or something on my program on my computer. And my antivirus system says to please update now. And when I click that, it sends me to Google Chrome Store. And when I get there, I don't know what to do. So I shut everything down because I don't think I should have to purchase extra software or purchase extra antivirus protection that I already have.
Yeah. So yeah, a lot of the paid for antivirus softwares do have an expiry date on them where they might stop operating, like the software has changed and been updated. Same with the computer operating system. So if you're using sort of a Windows platform, I don't remember exactly what year, but I think it's anything older than Windows 2002 maybe, where Windows is no longer going to be offering updates to some of these older softwares, right? And it's sort of the same for antivirus software. So I mean, if you are, and this stuff's being updated faster today, and they're expiring stuff faster today than they did in the past. But it is something to be aware of. But yeah, some of the antivirus softwares do push you to buy or update a new version of their antivirus software. All the antivirus softwares that are out there are good. I know there's a lot of free ones as well. A lot of the Windows machines now come with Windows Defender. So I mean, which one you use is up to you. But yeah, I've seen that with Norton and McAfee, some of the bigger ones, where once your 1 year subscription is over, then they're going to push you to buy a new software.
Well, thank you. I do have McAfee, and I didn't want to say it if not necessary. But I just purchased a 2-year antivirus subscription 3 months ago, and they're already prompting me to do something more. And I don't know enough about computers to know whether I should or not.
No, I mean, if you've just purchased it and it's activated and it's there, then there's no need to purchase a new one.
Thank you.
Is there, oh, I'm just checking the chat here. Is there any other question? Oh, do I need antivirus software on an iPad?
So I'm not aware of Apple products having that people are able to download antivirus software on Apple products. It's not something I'm aware of. What I do know or have heard is that Apple does have its own internal antivirus protection. That's why some people prefer Apple over other operating systems. But yeah, that would, again, it's not something I'm aware of, and I'm pretty sure most Apple products do come with their own internal antivirus protection.
Is there any other questions?
One fraud I heard about was people opening a mortgage against your property without you knowing it. Is this possible?
Yeah, that would be identity fraud at the end of the day, taking a second mortgage out on your property. So it depends on whether they're using your information when they do that, or they're using somebody else's information, which would be a little bit trickier with the land title and all the stuff that goes with getting a mortgage, right? But certainly we've seen, in terms of identity frauds, where people's information has been used to get mortgages, loans, credit cards, any sort of financial product.
So if there are any other questions after the presentation, you can feel free to email me. I can always reach out to Jeff and ask your questions if that's okay, Jeff.
Absolutely.
And also, Jeff will be joining us in February to talk about romance scams specifically. It's at the beginning of February. So I will be putting out that information on Facebook and emailing it out to everybody. So again, if you have any questions after the presentation, feel free to email me at byambaware@gmail.com. Our next presentation will be on January 21st, and that'll be, excuse me, on financial investment awareness. So if you are interested in that, again, please email me at byambaware@gmail.com. And our videos are posted on our YouTube channel, and please follow us on Facebook for any more updates. And also, if you check out byamba.ca, which is our website, under the financial abuse awareness section, we do have printable tools and information located there as well. So thank you so much, Jeff, for sharing your time with us today. This was a highly informative presentation, and we truly appreciate it.
Thanks again for having me.
All right, everyone. So I'm going to end the presentation for today, and have a wonderful day. And please reach out if you have any questions or require any support. Thank you.
Take care.